Forces doesn't actually stabilize.
Okay, well, so there's two important guys, quiet, exactly. There's two forces that take place or that a nail uses. Okay, the principles. Does anyone know what two they are? No. Not quite gravity. What do you guys
Downward,
What do you guys notice, like with older homes on the floors? They start to creak, right? Like the stairs and everything too. They start to actually. Okay. So they actually start to loosen up. When you have a board, okay, if we're looking at like the edge of a board, okay, like for construction. A lot of those older houses, they use nails to attach down the subfloor to actual joists. Okay, when a nail is driven in, right here. Jerry, you have a question?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of talking. Sounds like you have a question. All right. So, like I said, when a nail is driven down, here's the head of it. Okay. What that does is basically, like I gave you that example here, is when you drive that nail down in, it's the friction, right? So the actual friction of the nail being wedged into the board, okay? So one force is friction, okay? So one force in friction, and that's the actual, what holds the nail in place, okay? So as the board or the material or the building or whatever starts to get older or loosen up, okay, that's where the nail actually starts to pull in and out, okay? So what are some things that we can do to prevent that from the nail actually moving and loosening its grip friction on it?
You can buy like different grades of nails.
Yeah, they have, they adjusted it. They have a ring shank, okay? So if you guys ever notice, like on these common ones, but if you'll notice there's like three or four lines on there, and what those are, it's called a ring shank. Ring, right? Okay, and what that does is those extra lines, they just give it a little bit larger diameter, so it helps hold it in place a little bit tighter. The other option would be what? What are the most screws, right? Okay, so we'll be talking about that later, but screws. Okay, they help reduce with that friction because you can't actually pull that out, it's actually screwed in. The other one, that the force that used is the shearing force, okay? So if I have, say, a wall right here, okay, and I had a nail going in there. There's the head of the nail, okay? If I have this, what ends up happening if I hang a picture on there is it's the shear force, okay? So it prevents the two boards from moving from side to side. So if I have these two boards here, if this was my stud, say I was attaching something to it, I have a nail driven through it this way, so from the oak into the pine, okay? It has that shear force. So whenever you take something and you basically come across it that way, okay, it's called shear. So you have the weight of the actual object holding it down and the nail trying to resist it that way. So basically, like, what's another example for you guys use a lot that uses shear force? What about like not construction class, like art class? Scissors, right? Because the scissors uses a shear force because you have the piece of paper and it shears it in half. Ends up like basically ripping that paper. Okay, so scissors use a shear. So the two forces that you need to know are shear and friction. Okay, so friction actually keeps it tight in there, and the shear force allows the material not to move. Okay.
With like nail guns, is there any like great nails? Like, I don't know.
Like to keep these from,
Yeah.
they have the barbs, like those construction nails, the actual wires that keep them together, those kind of help. They're more there for, like I said, keeping the nails and to feed the nails through as it goes rather than actual plinth, keeping it from the friction coming up. So it's more for just the purpose of having it automatic instead of actually helping with the shear and friction. Okay, as you guys are continuing to work, you should be finishing up and grading on your grading rubric for your legs. Okay, so your long and your short legs. Those need to be graded, that grade sheet needs to be graded and turned in before you start assembling. Okay, so it makes grading easier, okay, for that. So make sure you guys are turning those in. Hopefully by the end of the day I'll get a couple more. Okay. So again, those are there to kind of help you move along. Those are your summative grades. Any questions? Okay.